On the agenda tonight, we're going back to the late 60s. We're going to be taking a look at Peggy Lee, and she's going to be performing Fever. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So I have isolated Peggy's vocal for this to run it through the pitch monitoring software, so we can have that on screen as well to refer to. We're going to watch it the whole way through because it's about 3 minutes in length, so not a long video for tonight. But the analysis might take a while. I'll try and keep it under 20 minutes because there's so much to point out in this performance. But let's get into it and see how they get on.
Never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care. When you put your arms around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight, fever in the morning, fever all through the night. Sun lights up the daytime, moon lights up the night. I light up when you call my name. You know I'm gonna treat you right. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight, fever in the morning, fever all through the night. Everybody's got the fever. That is something you all know. Fever isn't such a new thing. Fever started long ago. Romeo loved Juliet, Juliet she felt the same. When he put his arms around her, he said, Julie, baby, you're my flame, thou give it fever. When we kiss it, a fever with thy flaming youth. Fever, I'm a fire, fever, yea, I burn, forsooth I doth burn. Captain Smith, Pocahontas, had a very mad affair. When her daddy tried to kill him, she said, Daddy, oh, don't you dare, give me fever. With his kisses, a fever when he holds me tight. Fever, I'm his missus, Daddy, won't you treat him right? Now you've listened to my story, here's the point that I have made. Chicks were born to give you fever, be it Fahrenheit or centigrade, they give you fever. When you kiss them, fever, if you live, you learn. Fever, till you sizzle, what a lovely way to burn. What a lovely way to burn. What a lovely way to burn. What a lovely way to burn.
And there we have it. Peggy's vocal is so unique. The way that she delivers it live here is so freeform, and it really just draws you into the performance because it's got that conversational quality to it. But the great thing about looking at the performance in this kind of detail, having the pitch monitoring software on screen as well, is that it strikes you how accurate Peggy is when she's singing the notes that have to be accurate. This song as well has got that bluesy feel running through it, and certainly Peggy with her vocals does put that in there. So we will have occasions where we're not bang on the notes because of that bluesy expression that's in there. But as we just take it back, and we have a little scroll through, you can see just from the vocal lines that we have on screen, just nailing the D4s here, and you can see here that we're pretty much between notes, but this is just expression that you get from great vocalists like Peggy, and going up to that A4. This is the thing to look out for, because these notes are so far removed from the melody that Peggy is singing. So she's having to throw her voice all the way up to this A4, but we can see all of the notes that happened before. We have got such a jump. It's not as if we're just jumping up a semitone or a tone. We're going pretty much, half an octave here. So it is really accurate. Let me just take it back so that you can hear an example of what I'm talking about.
Sun lights up the daytime, the moon lights up the night. I light up when you call my name.
And just that, bang on the A4. I'm just going to let it play on a little bit longer.
You know I'm gonna treat you right, you give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight. Fever!
And when she says fever, obviously, being the name of the song, being the tagline of the song, everyone's listening out for that. So she makes sure that every time she goes to this A4, she's bang on with that pitch, because it's such an important part of the song and such an important note. And if she didn't hit this bang on, it would really stick out, because look at the amount of space we have either side of the note. It's not as if you can throw this note in there, but there are other notes around it, so it's kind of hidden, so you don't really notice if she's nailed it or not. It's just a note by itself, and because it's so different in pitch, that's what's going to make it stand out from the rest of it. So yeah, you really do take this for granted how great a vocal it is from Peggy, because of that accuracy and just the way that she's applied her own technique and personality to this. It just sounds great. And we are going to actually compare this to the original, because I want to show you how Peggy's version is different to the original and the way that it has a totally different feel. So let's go back to a couple of years before Peggy released her version, and this is little Willie John's version of Fever from his album called Fever in 1956, and you'll be able to hear the difference straight away with the arrangement. Let's just have a listen. Listen to the difference already, just instrumentally, how we're not really focusing on the bass. The bass is obviously in there, just really focusing on a couple of notes, really, just going da 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 da, and that's all you really get from it. And then, we've got the stabs on the piano as well. But the vocal, this is where it varies quite a lot, because little Willie John, with his vocal, he's thrown a lot of notes in there that aren't resolved. Just to point out what I'm talking about, we're going to have a listen to the verse.
Never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care.
And that last note, never know how much I care, going up rather than never know how much I care. The difference between those two notes are night and day, because Peggy, when she sings this, she's putting a full stop at the end of those vocal phrases, because she's resolving the line. She's going na 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 na, and that last note, na, is the key that the song is in. It's the root note, which means it's not an unfinished sentence, effectively. That's what it sounds like. But going na 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 na, it kind of leaves you thinking, oh, what's happened? It's rather than a full stop, it's like, a few full stops in a row, but as if we're about to go into something else and the story's not finished yet. So musically, it's a really interesting thing that Peggy does, because she's telling you a story that's matter of fact, and these are the facts of what she's telling you, and there's no room for discussion here. Let's just have a listen to another example now in the chorus.
You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight.
Again, same thing. Fever when you hold me tight. It's just going up at the end rather than putting that full stop there. Again, we're looking at this in real detail, but these are such important things, fundamental things to the composition, the melody, and the way it feels to the listener. So the reason that when Peggy performs it, it sounds like really that she's in control, she's telling you the story, but it's not up for debate, is because of the way she's resolving her lines. She's putting a full stop, and it gives you almost like a sense of she's in control, she's got the power, and it's just, she's just such a cool performer and so relaxed, but she just exudes confidence, not only with her delivery, her live performance, but the notes that she's delivering in her version of the song. So when we jump into this live performance, it's an interesting one because the finger clicks are so prominent in the mix. I think this is actually a version that's been recorded in the studio just for live performances. Of course, Peggy's vocal is fully live because her delivery's so freeform, you can't mind this. But instrumentally, the drummer's body language kind of gives it away because he does the little roll on the drums to begin with, and then he kind of points as if to indicate to the guy starting the backing to actually do it at that time. Let's have a look. It is a little bit of a giveaway. Actually, let me just mention, it is really well mimed. So, they definitely know what they're doing and do play this live because they know the parts inside out. But generally for TV shows, this is what happened. They just, put on a backing track. So that's why I'm saying that I think it is a backing track recorded in the studio just purely for, TV performances. But nevertheless, and it's just the finger clicks that give it away, because sometimes Peggy's not clicking her fingers, but you can hear them prominently, and you can hear sometimes that they're a little bit off. So there's a couple of clicks going on that have obviously been done, right in front of the microphone. Let me point out as well that the Little Willie John version back in 1956, just 2 years before this version was released, this performance is in the late 60s. So don't get confused with that. But the original release was a big hit. It got I think it's actually a number 1 in the R&B charts, but then number 24 in the mainstream charts. So it had that crossover appeal. But when Peggy released her version, because of that change in melody and just this really cool delivery, the arrangement as well, I think a lot of people just know Peggy's version of it, and they might just attribute it to her, not knowing that it was released a couple of years earlier. But the thing about this arrangement is having that bass up front and having nothing that's really competing with Peggy's vocal. It means that her vocal can take center stage. And when you start throwing in more instruments like guitar or a horn section or piano, you've got instruments that are competing with the vocal. They live in the same space frequency-wise, so it can be more difficult for that vocal to stand out. But when you put a voice like Peggy's over just a bass guitar, of course the bass notes are so much lower than Peggy's voice. They're not, living in the same place. They're not competing with each other. So you get such a great contrast to the instrumental work going on, but Peggy's vocal, being able to hear it so cleanly and getting all of the expression from her voice. But I know that this performance is only a few minutes. I just want to point out about the timing of the notes that the bass is playing, because it's so important. We're in our minor pentatonic shape here. And, these are all going to be notes. Actually, we go to the 5th there. And this is A that I'm starting on. And we go down to, just the A flat back up to the A. But the important thing here is the groove, the feel that we've got going on. Because we're not playing straight. And with these slaps in between, it helps those notes that aren't on the beat, they're off the beat, it helps those to stand out more because we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, we're getting that guide. So when they don't fall on the beat, we know it because of that sound that we get, that percussive sound. Anyway, going back to it, it means that we've got this, that little jump there, because I exaggerated it, you know, I get a bit of fret buzz, but that, you know, those notes, rather than playing it straight, and waiting for, is that little jump there. And the important thing about it being a jump is that the note's coming in before you expect it. So we're not going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. We're not waiting for that. We're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So we've come in on 2 and rather than 3, and that takes you by surprise. It's the offbeat. So it's very much going to have that effect on you, that it's not a boring riff because something just took you by surprise. And when we go, when we then resolve, we're jumping again. So we're coming in before the beat, which means that we're coming in on the offbeat. Really simple. Second time. We've got this little run, and again, this isn't straight. We've got a little bit of bounce in there, a little bit of offbeat. You know, and you can feel that bounce in there, that little skip. So it's so important for the mood, the feel, and how it affects you when you're listening to it. If it was just straight, there'd be nothing taking you by surprise, so it wouldn't sound as interesting. We will have a quick listen again to Little Willie John's version, because there is, you know, a little bit of finger clicking going on. This isn't something that wasn't in the original, but it was a lot more sparse. It just came in sections. The other thing with Peggy's version is the tempo. As you'll appreciate when we listen to Little Willie John's version, it's a lot slower. Let's have a listen.
On in and fever all through the night. Bless my soul, I love you. Take this heart away.
And because of this slower tempo, it almost makes it sound like it's plodding along, because the instruments are focusing on dum, 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 dum. And because it's so prominent in the mix, it means that all of those points that are emphasizing on the beat is going to make it sound straighter. It's going to make it sound more plodding along. But with Peggy's version, you know, it goes straight ahead. You haven't really got any time to think that, oh, this is just a little bit too slow. And we'll jump straight into it.
Never know how much I care. When you put your arms around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear.
I mean, listen to the difference in energy between the two versions. And it might be the case that this live version that they've made and they're performing here is slightly faster than the original record. I haven't checked that, but I wouldn't be surprised if this live version has a little bit more energy in it, because it's something that, yeah, tended to happen. So I've just loaded up the original just quickly to emphasize this point, but we'll have a listen.
Never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care.
Okay, and now we'll go back to the live.
Never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care.
So, noticeably faster on the live performance version that we're looking at. I just want to point out as well, Peggy's lack of vibrato. Even though she does have a really subtle one that's in there, this is what just makes it so engaging, because she is talking but in tune and telling a story so well. Let's have a listen.
Fever in the morning, fever all through the night.
Like they're really subtle. In the morning. On nin of morning, she has a tiny vibrato in there, but you almost can't detect it. and just listen to her voice throughout the next phrases and try and hear any kind of vibrato.
Sun lights up the daytime, moon lights up the night.
Nothing in there. We're just hitting notes on pitch here with great enunciation.
I light up when you call my name.
I mean, that is so conversational, but look at the pitch monitoring software. Bang on the A4 and then down. Na, na. We're kind of going down, and let me just hear that tiny little tweak that we had up.
I light up when you...
Na, na, na. Yeah, it was that D sharp 4. And the only reason that I can sing these notes that we're looking at is because Peggy's so accurate. Her vocal lines here is showing you exactly na, 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 na. So all you need to do is look at these lines, not even listen to Peggy's voice. She's so accurate that you can just sing what we're looking at. But, I mean, I don't want this video to go on for too long because I know it's only a 3-minute performance, but there's so much that we can look at. We've also got key changes in there, so it means that the vocal is just getting gradually higher and higher, and that's going to keep the interest in there, of course, as soon as you start changing the key. It's like hearing it for the first time again, but it's always going to be familiar, but it's just taking it to another place and just extending that journey. But anyway, thank you guys so much for requesting this video for me to take a look at. Keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. As always, let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!